I'm so pleased to introduce our first speaker, a great friend of CAAP, Lynn Fu. Lynn is an independent performing arts curator and consultant based usually in Shanghai, but she's joining us today from New York. Lynn's also the China market advisor for the Australia Council for the Arts. Lynn, welcome. What have you observed about what's been happening in theatre in China lately?
Thank you so much, Jen. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So my name is Lynn Fu. As Jen mentioned, I work closely with international team of the Australia Council for the Arts, and my role is the China Market Advisor, which is supported by the National Foundation for Australia-China Relations. So first of all, a little bit of a visual description about myself. I'm an Asian woman in my late 30s. I have long dark hair and a ponytail, and I'm wearing a pair of black rimmed glasses. So I'm usually based in Shanghai, my hometown, but because of the pandemic, I've been living in the US since last November. And today I'm joining you from my home office in New York City. Since China is the country where COVID first broke out in the beginning of 2020, well, can't believe it's been already over 2 years and we're still talking about the COVID. Well, so theaters started to reopen actually much earlier than the rest of the world. For example, in Shanghai, as far as I recall, theaters reopened around June or July 2020, first with 30% capacity and later moved on to 50% and then 75% and then 100% full capacity. I should say, unlike many international artists and organizations that spent much time exploring the potential of online theater in China, however, because theaters reopened much earlier, although there are some online practices that mostly involve streaming of previous productions, there are very few kind of tailor-made online theaters created only for the virtual platform. Instead, some new trends that I have noticed about the theater scene in China in the recent years that I like to quickly share with you. For example, in Shanghai, there is this building called Asia Mansion, 亚洲大厦, which is located in the very downtown area in the city. So the building has been sort of converted into like a vertical Broadway, as its nickname, that more than a dozen different theater productions are going on every night. Usually these shows are like small scale immersive productions and many of the copyrights are originally from South Korea, that the productions feature mostly male characters only to attract female audience that count for more than, I should say 95% of the total audience number. Another new observation is how dance theater is gaining popularity in China. Different from these super conceptual contemporary dance theaters that we're used to. Usually the Chinese pieces tell stories about traditional Chinese fine art and culture with no spoken line, but very strong linear storytelling so that people can understand easily. Also, the visuals are all like stunning. For example, this production called The Journey of a Legendary Landscape Painting. I'm gonna share the YouTube link of like a 3 minutes short clip of the show so that you can have a better sense later. So this show arguably is the most popular dance production ever made in China. So the story is inspired by a 1,000 years old traditional Chinese painting, which is a 1.9 meter long scroll known as a panorama of mountains and rivers. So I'm not sure Juliet from Shanghai Grand Theater, one of our panelists, is able to join us today or not. But if she is going to be with us later, I'd like to invite her to share more about this show, because to tell us like how thousands of tickets were sold out immediately after the ticket sale opened online recently in her theater. Well, okay, so some of you might have heard that the entire city of Shanghai is actually now under strict lockdown. So apparently all theaters in town are closed again. I just really can't believe that we're back to this again, because it's actually even worse than 2 years ago when COVID just started in China. And now we're back to the lockdown while the rest of the world is opening up. So it's like feeling even more surreal. But as you know, China is a big country. So I'm also very excited to hear more from Mengfan and Hu Yin about how things go in Beijing and Chongqing. Yeah, so I guess that's so far all from me. And yeah, let's hear more from our amazing panelists. Over to you, Jen.
Thank you so much, Lynn. So I think we sadly have not got Juliet Zhu in with us today. Juliet is from Shanghai and is the Deputy Director of the Performing Arts Programs of the Shanghai Grand Theatre. Sadly, we won't have her input today. However, it is my pleasure now to introduce you to two of the practitioners who have been able to join us. The first is Mengfan Wang in Beijing, who's a theatre and dance maker. And also we're joined by Hu Yin in Chongqing, who's the founder of Yinzi Theater, a privately owned multi-arts and cultural centre in Southwest China. And it's also the very first of its kind in her city. We're also joined in Sydney by Angel Gong, an interpreter who's standing by today just in case we need a hand with anything language related. So over to the panelists who are going to spend some time, first of all, introducing themselves and their work to you before we get into an actual discussion about what's been happening on the ground there. So I'll start with you, Mengfan. You're a theatre and dance maker based in Beijing. How has your work changed since COVID began? And can you tell us about some of your works before COVID and during/after COVID and how they're different?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me clearly? Yeah, actually, I was back to China 1 year just before the pandemic. So just started my career here in Beijing as a dance maker. And before pandemic, I was working with two retired ballet dancers at age 60 and 80 for dance work, talking about aging bodies in dance. And after the pandemic, we rarely had chance to work together. But at the same time, I feel that we were back to a kind of slowness, which I did appreciate it in. I started to appreciate in the life, and also this kind of slowness is also what these two aging ballet dancer had taught me. So we started to growing this piece again into another version that I think it shows kind of the slow tempo of our life after the pandemic. And since to show us a performance or full work in the theater is not anymore something we can expect, or because it's always canceled due to the quarantine or other reasons. So I think for me, it's more important to have a group of people that we have a certain tempo to work together all the time, that which not aiming to work presentation in the theater, but more to enjoy this process, and also to have some open rehearsal or other workshop with people that we can still share the ideas and of the theater and dance artists. Yeah.
Thank you, Mengfan. It sounds like what we all share is the idea of time has changed a lot, hasn't it? This idea of the slowness that you speak about, you know, sometimes can give us time that we didn't have pre-pandemic. We'll have a chat more in a moment, but for now, I'd like to introduce Hu Yin. Hu Yin, can you please tell us about Yinzi Theater, which you founded and specializes in independent experimental theater? What have your projects been like before and during/after COVID?
Okay, so let's from the north to the southwest of China. And first I want to share with my desktop. I use this. Can you see this? Can everyone see this? Yes. Yes. Thanks, Lynn, and thanks, Jennifer. And I really, it's my honor to recommend Yinzi Theater to all of you. We have go through 11 years experimental art in Southwest. So we really want to attract people to go into go to Chongqing to share with us. And we are really a small theater, a young theater. Even 10 years is not a short time. We're growing up from subculture. So we can say this is Chongqing. It's a rapidly developed city, but actually we're not in so modern district. We're in this. It's also maintains 8 years atmosphere. And we can see the contract between the culture in the city. So we're in here, 501 Art Base. It's a warehouse and red brick. We're in the third floor. Can you see us? A small brand? Also, we go into this building. We can see Yinzi Theater. Small gate and chair, lonely, many audience. 65 seats were in the theater. It's small, warm, and so close. So freedom, young, emotion, life, we all have there. So that's in the theater. Actually, the Yinzi Theater, it's have a creational team based in Southwest. Many young teachers based in Chongqing and also Chengdu. We work together, and also we invite many independent creators also in Beijing, Shanghai, Taipei, Xianggang, and also Aumen. Join us. We work together, do the co-production and the museum and small tour, dance theater, and also do environmental theater, immersive theater. And back to 11 years before, I'm also a young girl. And it's me and also other important friends and also our artists. We start from a small studio. But now we have built a network all over the world. And we cooperate with many institutions, foundations, and also, the pictures covered. And also you can see Natasha, she is from Sydney, and we work together. She helped me organize a form in Chongqing in my festival. So we have many relationship with Australia. There is some data, and you can say many viewers have many audience have attended our art scenes, and we support different kinds of tabs for artists like drama, dance, photography, music, and for the youngs. And we go to different festivals all over the world. And also we have close partners in Chongqing, like we have 3 universities, Chongqing University and Sichuan Fine Arts University, Xinan University, also are close partners. So we have building the performing arts community now. before the COVID-19, we think everything will go on. So we have international residency, we have on the sport festival, and also we have many workshops for the youngs. This is a crossover seems. Oh, it will move. And also it is for support the sculpture artists work with the dancer and some independent artists, they do some behaviors. And this is dance theater, it's a short residency. The director from Beijing. This is our long-term residency. We cooperate with the director from Japan, Mokoto. And this residency, we have 5 years. So we start from traffic tea house, invite different people, different artists. And also this is some workshops. And you can see the polyglot have also the workshops in Chongqing and Chengdu. So we organize that. This is our on the sport festival. This is the second, and many installation, voice, mind, video, and also some international film. But many things changed after COVID. We stopped, like this picture, the building travels. Yeah, we stopped the residency. We start other things, we more focus on public communicating. And also we developed the project for youngs. And now we develop some immersive theater. Like we based in warehouse. So this is for the community, for the some age just around 60 years old. Yes, and this is we cooperate with the Grand Museum for the themes, and this is how to say, this is we invite many scientists and artists to work together for the youngs, give them workshop. Oh, this is our very interesting program, and this is in the country. We use 1 kilometers countryside and organize the immersive theater and different and the local people and also some tourists will come to there, join us. And on the right, this is environmental theater and also recommended to Beijing festival. So now, this year, we cooperate with the new wave of international women performing arts project, especially for the women. So that's what we do before the COVID and after the COVID. So, thanks. I finished my speech.
Thank you so much, Hu Yin. It's as someone who hasn't been able to leave the country for a few years now, it's so nice to feel like we got to, I'm speaking on behalf of everyone, that we got to go to Chongqing very briefly to see where you do your beautiful and very vibrant work. So I think the diversity of the different projects that you work on was really clear as well. And I'm hoping we can talk a little bit about that in a moment. But for now, I'd like to go back to you, Mengfan, and ask you about the importance or significance of international collaboration in the work you do. How much of the work that you did before COVID involved collaborating with people from outside of China?
Just before the COVID, I was working with a Japanese
Matilda
dance
Pell.
dramaturg. Oh, sorry.
And he's now managing Boy and Bear as well.
Sorry.
Oh, do you want me to send you his number? Have you got his number?
Sorry, I think someone is not on mute. Please
just say I'm here to talk to you about Matilda, because that was the promise I made, but I heard a rumor that you're managing Boy and Bear.
If you've just mentioned the word Matilda, you're not on mute. Could I ask everyone to check that they're on mute, please? Let's try and begin again, Mengfan. So before COVID, you were collaborating with...
Yeah, I was working with a Japanese dance dramaturg, and I at that time was easy to have her here for the rehearsal and everything. But I think now it's very hard to imagine to have any other foreign artists here in China, since we have been closing the border for almost 2 years. And but I think many artists started to use this online technique, like many of Chinese artists have been like doing kind of assistant work for other foreign artists who want to share their work here in China. So we help them to kind of realize the work here with the Chinese group. And this kind of new way that we developed after the COVID, which I also find very interesting. For example, I'm also working with a French visual artist to do her live performance in the gallery recently. And I didn't find it very strange to do this kind of work. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you give me an example of the type of assistant work that you're doing? Like, what are the needs of the people who want to perform in China, and how do you help them?
I think there are still many collaborations going on that was planned before the COVID, and all the museums or theaters are helping, or they want to kind of pushing this work to going on. And I think before the COVID, there's the most important way to communicating with other theater or dance artists in foreign countries is to have the festivals and to show their work or to share a workshop. But now we cannot do this. So I think, how to say, it's another way of learning this kind of delivery one piece from an original artist to other people, and was also very interesting to be the person who is between artists and other artists and the audience. Yes.
It's like there's a process of some type of translation going involved.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Mengfan. Hu Yin, I'd like to go to you for a moment and ask you, you showed us how things have changed before and after COVID. What does that mean for you in practical terms when it comes to artists who want to connect with other artists overseas, or in China? Like, have you felt that that's been more difficult to do?
Actually, I think it will, how to say, reduce the people's creation, because especially for independent artists, they didn't have the stable money for themselves. First, they must for survival, also for us. And we must find another new and projects, ask the government to support us, but it's very hard for us. And but another way, I think it's maybe it's advantage for China, for Chongqing, because we didn't have so many activities, so we can do many things free. And especially we can use many public space, and like bookstore, like coffee shop, like community space, like library space for us. How we attract more public people and also invite them to join our project. And take one example, and we cooperate with the Science Museum to develop our project for the youngs. And they covered a lot of money, and they also pay for us for the workshop. I think it's a good way for us to promote and the performing arts. So, but I think it's difficult for the young director and the young actor, especially in Chongqing, because many people based in Beijing, Shanghai. But in Chongqing, we must encourage artists to develop, especially maybe he or she is not a dancer, and not a director. We encourage them to create some cross-border art themes, and we also supply them for the space for very short residency, maybe 1 day or 3 days, it's for free. And we also help them to do some technician in theater, like that.
It sounds like it's actually been quite a fertile time to be an artist in Chongqing, with all these new opportunities and new venues. Yeah. How have the audiences responded to these new works?
Response for the new work?
For the audiences, have you had lots of audience come to embrace these new works? 是受欢迎吗？如果是观众的话。
对，就是您做的这么多像这个多样的一些社区的一些活动啊，和创新的一些项目，就是他们观众的反应是怎么样？就是他们来参与您的活动，大家的反应是一个怎么样？对。
May I answer in Chinese?
Sure, please do.
我不得不说，就是我们的社区活动太受大妈的欢迎了。因为我们会有礼品 ，we have many gifts like milk 。对，而且因为我们其实是和社区的街道合作，他们会付费给我们去做一些非常轻松的 workshop，为这些特别是社区的大妈大叔，所以说我们会有很多这种剧本朗读。Reading theater， 这个我们是开展的非常多，就像刚才我就是给大家展示的图片一样，通过这个剧本朗读，这些大叔大妈他们会觉得戏剧是一个 easy way to involve them， 所以
Angel, may I trouble you for a translation, please?
Of course. So I have to say that our activities has been very popular, especially among the elder aunties in China, because we do provide a lot of gifts such as milk to get them really involved and participate with our activities. And we actually work with the streets, like the local streets, and then they would pay for our events. So that really helped us to promote our activities. And so the elder aunties in China really enjoy participating with our events because they feel like it's a great way to involve them with all sort of activities that's going on at the local area. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Angel. And I think you've highlighted for us, Hu Yin, that the Australian theatre landscape does not offer enough milk to our audience members. We should definitely consider that. I'm interested now in finding out about how these changes in both of your cities has changed the performing arts landscape. Like, do you think that there are some changes that have happened that will influence what happens even when things return to normal? I might start with you, Mengfan.
I think many independent artists, like they start to leave the big cities and go to small cities or even the villages. And I observed there's a phenomenon that there's a boom of doing residency in those small villages, and artists start to learn from the village and from the people there, and to create new works based on the experience they had. Because I feel before the COVID, more like young artists are willing to go outside of China to learn or to have chance to work. But now they are pushed, or they started to be interested in what's going on inside of China, and those small places where they ignored before, and how to connect with people who might not have any ideas of theater or dance, and how to work with these people and making theater even with these people. And this is a big changing in, I think, in the performing arts recently.
Yeah, it's incredible to think of what works might come out of this that may not have happened without people turning internally, right? I wonder for you what COVID has made you prioritize as a dance and theatre maker.
I think this is also related to what I've just shared, and I think more important for me is to make connection with different communities, or even to have our small communities. For example, I started an online project which is called a chat room for dancing people, and I have been doing it for over 80 weeks, which is 2 years. So I will have every week with 2-person online one-to-one chat session, and to talk about what they are interested in dance, or would just start any random talk focusing on the topic of body or dance. And there were people from all different fields, like even high school students or elder people who are interested in dance and theater but had no chance to talk with people about it or to be involved in this kind of things. And this somehow become a kind of my daily work, and which I felt as an artist, except to show like full complete work in theater, there are also other ways to kind of serve the people around you, and to connect with them with what you are professionalizing.
That's beautiful, the idea of arts as service. Is it something that we can watch in Australia, or are these private conversations that you have?
Oh, they are private conversations.
They're private conversations. Okay.
So
All
far.
right. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on what happens, the fruits of these private conversations later. For you, Hu Yin, how do you think, after when things return to normal, do you think that you'll take some of the things from COVID times into the new normal times? Like, will you continue to work with the streets, continue to engage the elderly aunties with, offers of milk? Because these are new things. Will you continue to do them?
So sorry, I respond in Chinese.
Okay.
Because it make me thinking.
Yeah, 没问题, 没问题.
Logic. 那首先我想回应一下，就是我们会仍然就是 base 在城市的中心，因为我认为特别是我以重庆为例子，重庆的主城区有800万人口，这些城市人口是我们需要发展的观众。我认为艺术家不应该因为 COVID 而逃避，因为始终我们需要和观众见面，我们需要勇敢的去创造我们自己的作品，去扩大我们的观众群，不然的话我们的作品和谁去交流呢？这是我认为表演艺术和架上艺术或者传统的雕塑绘画非常大的不同，因为在场是非常 big power， 是一个非常震撼的力量，这个是包括我们今天在线上的聚会都无法替代的这个艺术家的推动力。好，所以银子剧场在疫情之后虽然开展了就像我刚才说的社区活动，那我们其实因为我自己本人还担任一些在政府里面的职务，就是这个职务可以帮助我去推广社区戏剧。所以我们其实是要在城市的很多公共社区去建立这样的社区戏剧的小基地，然后去推动我们的艺术家去做很多戏剧的普及。我认为这个阶段是非常重要的，而且50到
Maybe I can help you to translate the first point first. Okay. So first I would like to remembering that from the COVID, we have to, what I taken from the experience was that we really have to base in the center of our city in Chongqing, because we have a large population, we have a lot of audiences. It's important that we present our show to the audiences and then really focus on our performance, because performancing art is very different with other types of arts, for example, like sculptures and like music. We really have to present ourselves on stage to the audience, because at the scene, it has a great power for us, for the audiences to see us performing at the stage. And on the other hand, that I also engage with a lot of government work, and that has helped me to promote my work as an artist. And on the other hand, I also engage with a lot of community activities. So we have been trying to set up a lot of the bases that in several parts of the city to really promote our artistic work.
然后所以银子剧场现在不仅在扩大，因为我刚刚给大家其实是展示的剧场的内部，我们是一个 studio， 这个 studio 是300平米，但是我们现在在跟政府谈，我们希望去发展成一个 contemporary performing arts。我们希望发展成一个3到5千平米的这个performing building， 我们在做这样的规划。因为我觉得作为独立的艺术机构，如果你不去跟政府去争取，特别在中国，那么所有的作品都变成了主题作品。我真的不希望我们的独立艺术家没有这样的机构去支持他们。难道我们的艺术家只能靠违约吗？ 年轻的艺术家也需要很多实验和失败，在这样的过程当中，他们才能成长。而银子剧场希望去做这样的一个培养青年艺术家的一个孵化器。
谢谢 Angel。
So with our Yinzi Theater, we have planning to expand on the space of our theater. Now at the moment, we are at 300 square meters, and then we are hoping to develop our theater into a contemporary art studio, like a bigger institution. And we have been communicating with the government, hoping to have our space expanding into about 3,000 to 5,000 square meters into a big building, so we can do more collaborations and more artistic work. So at the moment, I really think that as an independent art institution, as an art theater, we have to really fight with the to speak with the government to really ask for the resources, because I think that as a young artist, it's very important for us to create our own work. If not, we will be developing a lot of the theme works, which is really going avoiding what we were hoping for. We wanted to create our own independent work other than following the big trend like everybody else. And we don't want our young artists to always have to avoid the contract. We really wanted to work with our artistic inspiration and in creating our work. Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Hu Yin. It's so nice to know that independent theatre is growing as opposed to the opposite. You know, at a time where so many things are so difficult, the fact that there's growth is really wonderful to know. I have two more questions before we open up for questions from the audience. So, audience members, if you would like to put any questions into the chat, please do that now, and we'll get to them shortly. But for now, I would like to turn our attention a little bit to Australia and to ask about how you in your cities view Australia. You know, how is Australian theatre work seen in where you are from? And can you identify any potential opportunities for Australian artists to collaborate with you? May I start with you, please, Mengfan?
Yeah. Sorry, I was not in China before, like 1 year before the COVID, so I didn't have much chance to see many Australian theater works, but I had a chance just before the COVID to communicate and exchange ideas with an Australian theater and dance maker. Since both of us are interested in community dance in our own context, like me with the community dance, like elder ladies are dancing in the parks and plazas in China, and for her case, folk dance also dancing by the elder group of people. So I think after talking with her, I see many things that we can be connected in the dance, and also back to the history. There are many connecting points I could see between the two countries, and so I really expect to actually having this kind of communication with Australian artists, because we really had less opportunities to see their works. Yeah.
Hopefully after you've mentioned your chat for dancers, there might be some Australian voices hoping to communicate with you in future. Thank you so much for that. How about you, Yin? How do you view Australian theatre work? You know, you've collaborated with Australian people in the past. Are there any opportunities now to do work with Yinzi Theater?
Okay, so response in Chinese, sorry. 首先我想来说，其实我对澳大利亚的艺术家印象非常的深刻，因为我觉得他们充满了想象力和创造力。那澳大利亚在对原住民的艺术家的合作这方面一直给我很多启发。所以这也是为什么我们有很多项目其实是非常希望澳大利亚的艺术家，或者如果有一天能够到重庆来，如果我们可以继续开展这个 residency 的话，驻留项目的话，可以跟重庆的一些当地的可能不是当代的表演者一起合作，不是当代的表演者，可能是跟一些传统的表演者，比如说像川剧呀，比如说像戏曲类的呀，包括像非物质文化遗产的一些表演者一些合作。那这是第一个我想表达的。那么第二个我想说，
可能等一下，然后我们继续吧。谢谢。
So the first of all, I would really wanted to say I appreciate how the Australian artist has such a great strong imagination and how like they are very imaginative and expressive. Curators in Australia, they work very closely with local artists, especially with Indigenous Australia. I really admire them and I feel like I can learn a lot from them. And I really hope when the COVID situation is getting better, we can invite our residency program back, introduce that back again, to invite a lot of the Australian artists to come to Chongqing and definitely have them work with the local artists, not only just the local artists, but also with the traditional artists to promote more great work and then have more collaborations. Yeah.
Thank you. 还有呢？
然后第二点就是因为我观看过那个 Back to Back 他们的 Small Object 这个作品，那对障碍人群的关注，其实我们在重庆和重庆的一个这个手语组织，他们是关注听障人群的，就是这个听力是有障碍的听障人群的组织，我们经常有一些合作。那我们也跟 Polyglot 一起在成都开展过针对唐氏综合症儿童的工作坊。那这些项目我们都希望未来可以在重庆继续开展，如果不能在线下，是否也可以在线上有一些分享一些图片，一些线上的一些工作坊的一些小小的计划，那大家可以一起来策划。
So I have participated in actually many activities, especially including with people that has disability. Like for example, like I visited the Polyglot Theater and their workshop to local resident and organized their workshops in 2 megacities in the West, Chongqing and Chengdu. And I really hope that in the future, we can invite more Australian artists to design those kind of meaningful projects with us. Yes.
Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Hu Yin. So my final question, and Lynn, I'd love to get your thoughts on this as well. I'll come to you last to give you a moment to think about it. We're all connected here today because we're all interested in the arts. We're all interested in theatre. We may be interested in dance. And even though we come from different parts of the world, I know there are lessons that we've all learned in the last 2-3 years that are relevant to artists in other countries. So I wonder, based on your experience in the last few years, what lessons have you learned that you'd like to share with your fellow arts practitioners in Australia today? Mengfan, may I go to you first?
Can I have more
thinking time? More thinking time? Okay, maybe let's how do you feel about jumping in here,
Yin? So I start first?
Yes, please.
Okay. 首先我想跟大家分享，就是保持好奇心是非常重要的。因为我觉得疫情也好，或者说是可能还会有其他的 灾难，比如说地震，因为很多地区都有地震，那或者说有其他的可能一个政策就不让演出举办了，我觉得永远会有问题。但是我觉得表演艺术最大的魅力就是在于它是人和时间和空间三体的结合，我觉得它永远都在变化当中。我觉得这个是对不管是 producer 还是 playwright 还是 dancer 还是 director 都给了他们很多挑战。其实每一次我们看到的现场都不是重复的，但是我很享受这样不是重复的 atmosphere 这种氛围，因为我觉得这个是激励我一直在这个行业去为这个行业的从业者去争取空间，争取 funding，然后争取这个机会的最大的一个动力，就是我们永远在拥抱危险和不确定性。我觉得这个应该是我们其实是自我鼓励的一个很大的动力。那另外一点就是，
等一下，我们可能让 Angel 说一下。谢谢。
First of all, I would really like to share with all of you that it's very important for us to keep being curious, because we would never know what kind of challenges and problems are waiting ahead of us. For example, like earthquakes, and then there would be, for example, like policies that can really make our postpone our plans and then cancel our shows. So in my point of view, performance art is a combination of people, time, and space. So it's always changing, always so dynamic. I always think that with directors, dancers, and producers, all kinds of roles, they have always been creating different scenes and different shows. I really enjoy watching all the shows that has present a different kind of feeling, even with the same theme. They always have a different kind of presentation. So I feel like that really has encouraged me to really work for the space, work for the chances, and work for the funding to support my artistic work and my dream. So I think that what we can do is really to embrace the opportunities and embrace the challenges for us to move forward.
Heart-stirring words. Would you like to continue?
然后另外一点就是我想说，因为中国有很多特殊的政策，所以作为独立表演艺术机构和艺术家们肯定会遇到很多的问题，但是我们也要看到的是，我们有巨大的观众群，我觉得这个是我们在未来发展当中非常非常大的动力。不要指责观众没有走进剧场，而是先问问自己，我们是否真的走到街上跟他们真的 say 了 hi 所以我觉得这个是非常重要的，去开拓观众和拥抱观众。这个是我会一直努力的事情。
谢谢。
Thank you so much, Yin. So I have the second point is I have to say there are many specific policies in China, especially for us as independent art institution or as an independent artist. But we have to know that we have such a big audience group. So it really has been a huge motivation for me to really putting my effort into my current work. We really can't blame the audience who, if they're not coming to us, but we rather have to ask ourselves, have we really walked into the street and said hi, and then introduced us to the people about us? So yeah, I think that's what I have been really working towards.
Thank you very much, Angel. Thank you, Yin. Mengfan, what would you like to share?
I think especially after the COVID, we are divided, not physically, but also politically and in many aspects. not only inside the countries, but also in the perspective of the whole world. And for myself, why I started the chat room for dancing people, it's also because I want to recreate a connection between one-to-one, like a very concrete relationship that really happens, and to spend time with a person at its private, and you can share something maybe very weak, soft, and slow. Yeah. So I'm also thinking about how to make this idea happen in theater and in my further work, that we could really have this feeling that help us to believe on people and on our own bodies.
Yes. I love the idea of taking that softness in with us long after we're not in COVID times anymore. Thank you, Mengfan. Lynn, I'd love to come to you now. Any lessons that you'd like to share based on your observations?
Yeah, well, Hu Yin and Mengfan really said it beautifully. I think for me, be kind, be open, and be resilient is very important. It might sound a little bit cliche, but I do believe in these three, important characteristics, because what we do can be so vulnerable. There's so many things that can directly impact, and then we can't just get canceled overnight, especially working in China and with China. Because even before the COVID, there was a time, for example, China and Australia was in this really bad diplomatic tensions. So, working with Australia Council, there was a time I would just keep telling my colleagues, don't expect too much, because it's really hard to approach Chinese organizations or colleagues. Yeah, they say, oh, you're from Australia. Yeah, it's very hard to kind of promote Australia at the moment, right? So, sometimes you can't really just keep pushing. You just really kind of try to live with the situation, listen to people, to their needs. And also, I don't really believe that much what it's said in the media. Sometimes I found it's quite toxic. What's been happening between the two governments are very different from what's the real conversations are going between the two peoples. So just talk to people and listen to them. And that's where the real meaningful relationships, they can grow. So it's really not about what we read from the newspapers or, on the social media. So this is, I think, my biggest learning point from these two kind of like turmoil years. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lynn. And I think everyone who's on this call today clearly does believe in the importance of these people-to-people relations. Hopefully conversations like this mean that we can have deeper relationships and connections with people outside of our own countries. Thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you to the audience as well for your questions. We've received 4 of them, so please do write in the chat box if something comes to mind. I'll start with the first question. This is for both Mengfan and Hu Yin, and it's a question about money. How do you fund your projects, and what is your relationship with mainstream theatres?
Mainstream theatre?
I guess the distinction might be, in your case, Yin, if you're an independent theatre, is there a theatre in Chongqing that is considered to be more, does work that is less independent? Are there any relationships between your theatre and another theatre that may be like this?
我可以说我们的资金其实是来自于我们自己的，大部分是来自于我们自己的 family。对，因为我们是一个 private， 那这样的话，其实我在进行很多项目的时候，其实我是不用太考虑商业的目的， 包括驻留项目，其实我们不仅是提供剧场的使用，我们还提供了一套公寓。那这个公寓也是我们自己的房子，也是来给艺术家居住的。那我们还邀请了当地的翻译和助手来协助艺术家解决排练上的问题。那而我本人其实从在学校担任老师工作到后来全职进入剧场，做制作人，其实也是一个很缓慢的一个过程。这个过程可能要比在北京和上海要慢得多，就是因为在重庆你需要找到很多可以帮助你的人，而这些人并不以商业的代价来跟你去计算他们的帮助。
Thank you so much, Ying. So I have to say that most part of my funding comes from my family, which is more of a private funding from myself. I actually is not very into a lot of the commercial activities. Most, like for example, our theater scene and then our apartment, which are also used to support the residency projects. We also have get a lot of the support assistants and local translators to help with the artists with their project and artistic work in Chongqing. Before I was working as a teacher at a school, and then now for me has become a producer. The process has been quite slow. It's not the same with growing in Beijing or in Shanghai in the big cities, because in Chongqing, if you wanted to find someone to support your work, those people, they actually is not looking for any, they are not looking for any money or like commercial like wise, but they are more looking at like how my interest is matching with their interests.
Lovely, thank you. And what about you, Mengfan? How does your work happen?
At the beginning years, I also found my project first by myself. Then maybe some theaters see the project and they started to fund. And recently, most of my works are supported by the foreign art councils like Goethe Institute or Swiss Art Council, that they have also office in China. I think there's also a big gap between independent artists and artists who are working for the government, like for the propaganda, because they are more supported by the government. So as independent artists, we cannot compete with them, and we rarely get any government funding for our own creation. Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you to Sally for asking that question. I have a question here from Suzanne, which is about the artists that you choose to work with. Suzanne says that in Australia, we have a tendency to put a lot of focus on engaging young people. But you have both spoken about engaging people who are a little bit older in your projects and your practices. Suzanne would like to know if this is common in China, and if you can share any challenges there are when it comes to working with older people.
Jennifer
是在问我吗？我以为是在问孟凡。
两个都是 sorry please both feel welcome to answer that. Yes.
Yeah, 就是那个 Jennifer 刚刚问
我知道。我就 please let me think about it. Maybe Mengfan, you start first.
Okay, cool.
I think first, it's not common to work with elder people in China. And we also have this same tendency of involving the whole aesthetic, not only like in the popular art, but also in the theater, it's to focus on the beautiful and young bodies. And this is why I chose to work with aging dancers, especially in the dance field. People are still, how to say, they get used to see very strong and beautiful bodies on stage. So I think it's important to have people looking, really gazing at those aging bodies and how these bodies could deliver a kind of beauty on stage, even if they're not able to do any big or standard movements. Yes.
Thank you. Hu Yin?
OK，其实我们去年在重庆40度的高温的时候举办了一场舞蹈剧场。这个舞蹈剧场是上半场和下半场2支队伍，一支队伍呢是我们的这个南山舞蹈团，他们的年龄是从50岁到70岁。另一支队伍是我们的青年艺术家，银子剧场的跨界艺术家，他们有街舞，有爵士舞，有古典舞，然后有跨界融合的部落舞、肚皮舞等等等等，这样的一群艺术家群体，他们的平均年龄30岁不到。然后我们在一个广场上邀请他们，就是各自拿出各自的绝技，进行了一场以舞蹈为主题的交流。当然这个整个的展示是因为我们在开展这个百姓剧场这个计划，这是作为我们的一个 opening ceremony， 是做我们的一个开幕秀。但是在和这些就是50到70岁的这些年长的这些跳舞的人在一起工作的时候，其实是他们给了我这样的力量。就为什么呢？因为他们非常的认真，而且他们并不像我们想象的那样保守，他们非常的开放，而且他们非常的愿意去迎接挑战和接触新的舞蹈形式。我在想，是不是我们需要这样的观众？
Thank you, Yin. So first of all, I would like to say that actually I had hold a show in Chongqing at under a 40 Celsius degree weather. There was a dance show that's separated into 2 sections. One, we had 2 dance teams. One was a group of people aging from 50 to 70. And then the second team is from our Yinzi Theater, who are actually engaged with a lot of cross-border dance genres. And then they were like at the similar age group, around 30 to 50. So we actually invited them into a big open square where everyone was asked to show their best technique. It is actually for our opening for the People's Theater, our project we were working on. So I really feel that working with the elder has given me that sort of power, because they are very hardworking, and then they has a passion for the dance they were playing. And then I feel like they are not such conservative group of people we used to think so. And then I think they're very, they would like to face challenges. And then I think that can really make me enjoy working with them. Yes, thank you.
Beautiful. I think that gives us a lot of food for thought about who we consider to be suitable artists and desirable audiences as well. I have a question here from Amy. Thank you, Amy. Mengfan, how can people in Australia join your body dance chat room?
Oh, I never thought that there will be someone out of China
Well,
who wants
this
to
is
join.
the moment. This is the moment.
Maybe I leave my my email address for you. Thank
Okay,
you.
there you are. Amy, I hope you report back on how that chat went. That chat will go. And also another question from Amy. Can our wonderful panelists please talk a bit about how you began as independent theatre makers? Yin, would you like to begin? You mentioned before that you were once a teacher. How did all of the Yinzi stuff begin?
Yeah. So I respond in Chinese. 因为就是银子剧场是在四川美术学院，就是我的母校的对面，就是只有20米不到的一个仓库里面建立起来的。而这个地区已经有80年的当代艺术发展的历史。这也是为什么我们去做很多实验艺术的时候没有审批的原因，因为这里已经有80年，艺术是如此的扎根于从政府到街道到普通老百姓到居民的心里面，所以艺术已经成为一种常态，所以大家都很宽容。然后当我是一位老师的时候，我身边的艺术家群体，我的同学，他们都希望有一个独立的空间去展示他们自己的一些实验。而我很幸运，就是我跟大家聚在一起说，好吧，就让我们开始吧，先从一个非常小的影像分享会开始。然后从这个影像分享会，我们开始做了音乐会，我们开始做了跟 British Council 合作的这个一些作曲家的一些composer 的 workshop。然后呢，我们就开始了舞蹈剧场，然后紧接着我们又跟歌德合作了一些 Pina Bausch 的一些舞蹈电影的一些放映和讨论会。渐渐的，我们建立了一个属于表演艺术的 artist family， 所以我想剧场就是这样来的。
Thank you so much, Yin. So first, I would like to say Sichuan Fine Art Institute is actually my university I graduated from. And we had an art factory in the university, and then it has 80 years of history. So whenever we wanted to, me and my friends, my classmates wanted to do an experimental art performance in the university, we always get turned down. I understand why, because it has such a long history at that place. So because it has been so rooted in everybody's heart. When we wanted to do a new challenging experiment, it's like something new, and then it can pose some challenges to getting approval. And when I started, actually everybody is really embracing with the idea of performance art and experiment from the government, from the street, and from everyone. Everybody is enjoying that idea. When I was at the university with my colleagues and my classmates, we really hoping to look for a space where we can produce some independent artwork. And then I was very lucky that we come to an agreement and said, okay, let's do this. We started from a small studio, and then we started from a small video sharing like forum, everybody get together. And then we moved from, we become bigger and bigger, and then having more having more collaborations with the government, with different international councils. So from then on, we began to be more developed, and then we growing. And yeah, so we become today the Yinzi Theater. Thank you so much.
Angel. Thank you, Yin. How about for you, Mengfan? How did things begin for you?
I will explain very briefly. I studied actually art history and not theater or dance. in the university, and I think my work started with a group of elder ladies. I mentioned before that in China there are thousands of middle-aged ladies. They dance in the parks and squares days and night. And my first work is I created a dance theater piece with 6 dancing ladies. So I met them in the park and I brought them to the theater. And my idea was to show the beauty I saw from them. So it was very simple, and I didn't have any funds or even any theater experience back to then. But I think this collaboration brought me then to be aware that maybe I could do dance or theater. And that's how I started. Yes.
That is wonderful. I think we're all picturing the dancing ladies in the plazas and the theaters. So much joy to be seen when you're walking through the parks in different parts of China. Let me just see. Does anyone have a burning last question that they would like to share? Let me have a look. Oh, okay. Thank you, Lynn, for your contribution here. In Darwin, Northern Territory, there is a long-standing troupe called the Grey Panthers. So check out Trax Dance Company. They're all older women who perform regularly. Panelists, I wonder if there's any last words you'd like to share before we part ways again today. It's such a 很有缘分，我们今天一起在 it's an act of destiny that we're all here together at the same time today. So any last words you'd like to share? Yin?
Actually, I want to say I really want to meet everybody downline.
Yes.
Maybe in Chongqing. So welcome to Chongqing.
Yes, all right, we're all going to Chongqing, guys. Pack your bags. Yin, if you'd like to share your contact details or your website in the chat, I think we may have already shared the website so everyone can look to find out more how to connect with you online and hopefully, fingers crossed, in person one day. Mengfan, do you have any final words you'd like to share? You'll have some Australian people contacting you today, so there's that to look forward to.
Thank you for paying attention. And yeah, I don't know when we will open the border, but I hope to see everyone in the future.
Thank you so much. Lynn, any final words from you?
Yeah, well, I really appreciate Hu Yin and Mengfan for their super generous and really honest sharings. And because I was still kind of checking in our third panelist and then but I don't think she's gonna make it because Juliet Zhu, she is a deputy program director from Shanghai Grand Theater. So today, because Yinzi is the founder of independent theater, and also Mengfan is an independent artist, a choreographer. So actually our third panelist comes from sort of like a state theater venue background. So yeah, so just very briefly, because she's not here, I'm gonna just very briefly introduce a little bit of the Shanghai Grand Theater, which is located in Shanghai, one of the very first and prominent theater venues in Shanghai. So it's in People's Square. If you have visited China, I guess every city has a People's Square to some extent. So which means it's the very city center, the very downtown area. So it's right next to the Shanghai municipal government. So it's a prime location, and they're a presenting venue. So they have a large auditorium and also a smaller one, about 200-300, that they just recently renovated. So usually they present like sort of like traditional works, major companies, But I have noticed in the recent years, because of Juliet, because of her, colleagues at the new emerging arts administrators, they start to sort of explore some, new territories. For example, they're curating some new series in the Black Box Theater, like commissioning emerging musicians, and sort of just to produce some very interesting works that I don't really believe the Shanghai Grand Theater would present if it was 10 years ago. So yeah, I mean, in the future, I guess because our global Longhouse will keep going. So in the future, if we can invite her back and to tell you guys more about, how these big government backed theaters are evolving, it will be very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Lynn, for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to have your brains on this, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much also to you, Hu Yin and Mengfan, for making time to share your experiences and your vision with an Australian audience today. We appreciate it so much. Thank you so much to everyone. And a big thank you also to Angel, our wonderful interpreter in Sydney, who's just used her superpowers to such great capacity today. Thank you so much for that. And you, to the audience, we wouldn't be here without you. So thank you for joining us today. I have great news. Our next Longhouse events will be in person. So if you're in Brisbane, please join us at La Boîte Theatre on the 20th of May. And our first Sydney in-person Longhouse will be on soon after that. So keep an eye on the CAAP newsletter, the website, and our socials for more details on that. You can also please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and LinkedIn for more information on CAAP and future Longhouse networking opportunities. And also, of course, artist opportunities. If you have any questions about today, please email admin@caap.org.au. And finally, I have one thing I'd like to ask all our audience and participants. If you could please join us in a group photo. We love photos. So please turn on your camera for us. We're going to arrange all the tiles so we can see all your beautiful faces. I think Natasha is arranging this now so that we can see all of you. Natasha, just give me a go ahead and I'll count us down when you're ready. I can't see all of you, but maybe it's because of how I'm viewing the screen. Let's have a look. Oh, you are all there. Look at all of you. I can see Jane and Courtney, Annette, Stephanie, Pri. Okay, this is your last chance to put your cameras on, and I'm going to count us down for a photo. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Thank you so much for indulging. It's a pleasure to see you all.
Thank you.
And I wish all of you the best with your future creative endeavors and collaborations. I hope you take the warmth of today into your stride and that it feeds into your work and your connections with all the other people. Thank you so much for joining us today at CAAP. I'm Jennifer Wong. Good afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.